Hi guys, hope you're doing good. Hope Cape Town can get some wine to order from Monday. So let's continue. I am already recording, so we'll do a sharing at the end of the night again of a recording. So basically, I'm hoping that you can see the screen. Um, Very interesting. The last part of this paper is nearly the same as the June paper. So there's just one or two that is actually different. And then I want to see if I can log into the MyUnisa website and and just see if I can get access to that online paper, because that would be cool if we can basically, what you guys said, it's open until the 6th, so I think we can, hopefully one can save it as you go along. I think one or two of you have tested it maybe already, so it will just be interesting to see what can one do and if we can save it and work through it in the next week. But let's start with the questions, and then we'll work through it, and then we can see what we can do. Okay. So if we start off with question 17, I think again very similar to what was in the previous year's paper or the previous semester's paper in 2018. So when we look at this, we basically need to calculate where the z value or the probability is less than 1050. So as always, I start off with writing what we need to do, and then we start substituting with the formulas. So we have a mean, we have a population standard deviation. So if we have population standard deviation, we are working with a z. And that is also how you can see it in the exam. If I tell you it is not the population standard deviation, but sample standard deviation, then you need to work with the t-value. So we know it is population standard deviation, so it's a z, so we basically will need to work out where that z is smaller than that formula. Okay, and then we basically can substitute it in. And if we substitute in, we have most of the values, so we know that we are looking for where it is smaller than 1050. We subtract the mean of 1000. We divide it by the standard deviation, that was 200, divide by the square root of n. Okay, so that would give us 50 on top. At the bottom, square root of 16 is 4, so 200 divided by 4 will also give you 50. So we will get 1. And again, like some of the previous questions, that was also your answer, your first answer. So don't be fooled in the exam. They basically want probability, but we know that they sometimes give you the Z value. So at least we know our Z is correct. And now they want us to work out what is the Z when it is smaller than 1. So we basically need to work out the Z for smaller than 1. So we want to work out that area. So we will go to that normal table of table A3 or something like that, where we just go to where Z is 1, and that value will be equal to 0,8413. So this one we can read straight off that table where Z is equal to 1, and we will get the value as option 5. Okay, there was nothing weird in this one. It's nearly straightforward. Want to get to that, so so yeah, I think the one thing that can be the one that catches you, because we sometimes have learned that if a sample is very small, we use the t value, but because the main thing we look for to use the t or not is when it is a population standard deviation or not. I think that's maybe the one thing that could have been the difference. And also you will see, if you worked out that area, there would have been an answer for you as well. So it's important when you look at it that the important thing is to see you need to work out the smaller, and the smaller then means that Z needs to be smaller. That means that you are working in that smaller region, smaller than 1, so it means it is that area. Okay, I think that was nearly question.
Yeah, Jean.
Yes.
If they did say the sample standard deviation equals whatever, how would you work this out? Can you maybe just show us that?
Then you will need to work with a t. So that would now be interesting. So let's see if we can work out that. So let me think.
Sorry.
So let's quickly see, because then you would have... Oh, that's a very good question. Let me quickly check if there is a formula for that. And if there's not, then you actually don't need to worry that... Okay. So I've got one of the old exam papers here as well. So they actually have a t. So let's see what the formula for the t would have been. Very similar, nearly. So the only thing, so that is interesting. So that formula is the same. So you would actually have gotten the same answer.
And I see on the exam instruction document for this exam, they do give that specific formula, the one that you just wrote out.
Oh, okay, so it did. Okay, so that is interesting. So then if I do that, you would need to see, and they don't give you enough information to go to the t table because you need to know the percentage if you want to use that. So you actually, okay, that good question that you asked, because now I'm also don't know, but then actually these questions, they can't, unless they tell you now there's an alpha of 5% or 2% or 3, and one of those that you can go look for t-value. So there isn't actually one. So in actual fact, you get to the same answer.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's quite interesting. Just check in one of the textbooks if that is not, maybe because sometimes there's a difference in the n, that it's n minus 1 instead of n. So just check in the, please, if somebody has a textbook, if there's not a different formula in the textbook. That's just my only concern, that maybe, because normally when we work with a sample, as we normally say n minus 1. So that would be quite interesting to see if there is in one of the textbook maybe something different. But else it would have actually come out to the same answer. Very interesting. So then it only is different in the confidence intervals. So that is basically where the difference then is between the Z and the T. It's only at the confidence intervals and not at this stage. Because here, even if you worked out the T, you would have gotten the same answer. So
cool.
that is quite interesting. So if somebody can just later on check in the textbook if there's a different formula for that.
Gene, that formula n minus 1, I'm looking at the document they sent us for the exam. It's on the next page. It's on the next page, and it's the second one, the second formula. That n minus 1 formula with a alpha divided by 2, and then.
Yeah, see, so that is where you work out your degrees of freedom and things like that. So that's why I was also wondering if it will be here the same, which is obviously not. So that's why it's for me interesting, because out of all the other stuff, you normally would say n minus 1 if you work with a T. So that was just very interesting. So, and I think, Rian, you asked a question, and I've never seen in these questions that we actually need to calculate the T, but it's strange that they give it in the formula page. So if I ask you this, they can only ask you to calculate the T value if I gave you the sample standard deviation, and not a probability. Otherwise, because there's no, if you look at the T table, it is, they need to tell you what you test, what is the alpha, and they need to tell you what the N is. And then is like your test is, your T-stat with the same when you test with a Z, if you accept or not, and those kind of things. So interesting. So I wonder why did they add it to the formula page, or if it is just to confuse one. So yeah, so it will be interesting. I'll Google it a bit as well, just to check if there's not if it's not n minus 1 maybe, just to see if there's not a different answer to it. otherwise, the only thing that they can ask you is calculate the t value, and instead of going into what is the probability. Okay, you ask me difficult questions today. Not again. Happy with that?
Yeah, that's cool.
So question 18 was exactly the same as question 18 in the previous exam paper. So let's just look at, assume that the population standard deviation is unknown. If it's unknown, t interval. So that's automatically. We don't even need to look at the other options. It is automatic that we use a t for that. But it is exactly the same question that was in the May-June paper. If you look at question 19, exactly the same question that was in the May-June 2018 paper, where they also ask you, they give you all the information, but they basically ask you what is the critical value for the 95% confidence interval. And I think that answer was 1.96, and that you could have gotten out of the table as well. There's a table on one of the pages that says one tail or two tail, and because we're working with a confidence interval, it is always two tail. Sorry, I'm rushing through it because it's all things that we did last time, and just also to show how many of the things are repeated, because again, question 20 is exactly the same that was also in the previous paper. So let me, so there you could see the question 19 was exactly the same, question 20 exactly the same. So
Gene,
yes,
just check, because your 2019 paper was a 90% confidence interval and your 2018 was a 95%. There's a difference.
Wait. So which paper? No, so this is both of them are the 2018 papers. So it was May, June 2018 and October, November 2018. So both of them are the 2018 papers, not the 2019 paper.
Okay, not a problem, because your 2018 and 2019 is very similar, slight differences.
Oh, okay. So there's also, okay. See, so again, it shows how many of, so the questions are very similar always, but they've, so, and I think that is important that you, so for a question like question 19, if it's 90%, it is the 1.645. If it's 95%, it's the 1.96. And I think when there's a 99%, that's the other one that they can ask, which is, if I can remember from previous, 2.28 or 2. Something like that.
2.58.
2.58. Okay, cool. So that is basically nearly the free. They seldom ask for 99%. It's normally the 90 or the 95% that they ask. So yeah, so again, between the 2019 and the 2018, I think there was also not a lot of differences. Could anybody get the December or the October-November 2019 paper? Because I think that was from a chat on the group, it was quite a difficult paper, so I was wondering if anybody could get access to that, because that would be interesting to see as well. And I think I don't think they have released the paper, and it's definitely not on my UNISA. So it just would be interesting if anybody can get it legally or illegally, like cigarettes, then it will be, I won't tell. It will be nice just to see that paper. So again, I think if you look at question 20, then the other thing that they can change in here is the 95 or the 90%, just to mix it up a bit. But the rest of the calculation is exactly the same. So we're working with the population proportion, and they give that also in your formula, so you don't need to learn the formula. If you look at the population, is it on the second page, the third one, I think. So again, one can, as what I would do is I would definitely make notes as we go along now, and keep those notes. So if you look at a question of population proportion, that you need to work the interval out, it is the formula, the P plus minus Z, P1 minus P divided by N, the square root of that. And population proportion, always a Z. So there's no, even if it is always a Z. So I think that is important as well. Don't get confused that sometimes there can be a T, because it can't be. So population proportion, always a Z. So question 21 was also the same as Vermeer. So I think I'm not going to go through it. I'll share this whole presentation also tonight on the share drive or on the file, so that you can see all the workings of the previous paper as well. So a lot of repetition was in it. So it was a weird year, the 2018 one, because question 22 also was in the May-June paper. So it nearly feels like if you were writing in December or November this year, that just study the paper that you guys will get this year, this term. Question 23, exactly the same. So again, it was exactly the same question as in the previous paper. Question 24, exactly the same. So there was nearly, I think from that was the same, so that was the same. So from question 16, I think this was a bit different. So from question 16, it was all the same as the previous question. 17, I just think they changed the smaller was a bigger one in the previous exam. This question 18 was exactly the same. Question 19 was exactly the same. Question 20 was the same. 21, 22, 23, 24 was all the same. So the only one that then was different was question 25. And we'll quickly look at that, and then we'll see if I can log onto the My UNISA website and get to, I think it's under the additional sources or something like that. I'll check now if I can get into one of those. I think you guys will just need to tell me where to look, but when we can maybe look at the online paper. Okay, so let's look at question 25. So the formula was exactly the same as in the May-June paper. What they do ask us is work out what is the incorrect one. Okay, so the first things is, so let's look at independent, dependent. So is X the independent variable? Yes or no?
Yes.
So that is absolutely correct. So if that one is independent, that one is dependent. So absolutely 100%. Is the slope 125 or 1.125? So that is the slope, so that is the incorrect one. Because the slope is actually supposed to be the m value, and that m value is the 0.375, so the slope was the incorrect one. Let's just look at the other options. There is a relationship between x and y. That is, there is. If it is part of a formula, it is a relationship. They don't tell us if it's strong or not strong, or negative or positive. They just ask us if there is a relationship. Then to work out the estimated value of y when x is 0. So when x is 0, that is 0. So basically y will be equal to 1.125, which is what they tell us. So that one is also correct. So the incorrect one for this one was option 3. Okay, so that was basically the only one that was different to the previous paper, the May-June one, in October-November one. So we basically have covered this paper as well. So I will share this tonight with a recording on the files, and if it's small enough, I'll actually share it on the WhatsApp group as well, but I'll make sure that it is on both areas. Can you guys tell me where is it for online assessment? Where is that? Wait, mock exam. Can I preview it? Let me quickly see. I'm just trying to see if I can get into it. Okay, so I want to share it with you, so let me quickly see if I can. Okay, so I think this is what you guys probably saw if you have already started with a mock exam as well. And it is available until Friday the 5th. So I'm hoping that we can save it as we go along. Let's quickly see. Once you begin, you will have 2 hours or until Friday, whichever is shorter, to complete this assessment. It will be submitted at that time, regardless of whether you answered all the questions. The assignment is linear. What does that mean? Which means you will see questions one at a time, and you will not be able to go back to the previous question after clicking next. Okay, so that tells us that in your exam you will also not be able to go back. Okay, I don't like that, but that is how it is. You can submit this assessment an unlimited number of times. Your average score will be recorded. Okay, are you guys happy that we just start with this? And then we can, after half hour, we can just go into it again then next week as well. Happy with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And let's see if it if it bombs out on me or not, or what happens. It will now be very interesting to see how this will be in the exam. Sure. Yeah, okay, what's the question? So that's quite interesting. So I can't.
Yeah, seems in the preview it wouldn't give the question, so you have to actually do the assessment.
So that is quite interesting. So if I then say, okay, so let's honor the pledge. Okay, cool. Sure. Okay, so now I can't even. Okay, so let's see. Okay, this is going to be interesting. This is the first time I'm doing it like this. So let's see if we can work this out, and this will be a good feel for how it will be in the exam as well. Okay, so they give you the options, then they give you the options that you need to pick out of, and then you need to basically, out of 5, you can pick an option. So okay, so at least if you picked it wrong while you're doing it, you can reset the selection. Okay, that is quite interesting. So stats essay collected the following economic and education data. A, economic sectors, then there's income groups, high, upper middle and low, small, medium enterprises, types of degrees, types of matric exams in South Africa, independent and national. So which variables are qualitative ordinal, i.e. Categorical variable with an ordinal scale? Okay, so is the economic sectors ordinal, yes or no?
No.
Okay, cool. So it's not A. Income, high, upper, lower, low. So
Yes.
100%. Perfect. Medium enterprises, so small, micro, very small,
Yes.
small. Awesome. Types of degrees: bachelor, honors, master's, doctorate.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Probably.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I would also have said yes, and that is a tricky one also, so that if you don't say yes to that, there's still the answer for B and C, and if you say yes, it's B, C, and D. I would have said yes, because you first do a bachelor's, then you do an honors, then you do a master's, then you do a doctorate. So I would have said yes to that.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
and E, I would have said no. So I would have also said B, C, and D, which is B, C, D, which is option 4. Did they tell you if you are right or not? So let's do the save.
They don't tell you if you're right once you've finished the thing. They just give you your sort of your marks.
Oh, okay. So I will ask the lecturer if I can get the mock exam in a PDF with the answers. Because also now I saved it, so I assumed that it recorded it, and when I go to next, it is there. So who knows? So I'll just ask the lecturer for if we can get the results of this as well, because that will help you guys as well. It doesn't help you just getting a mark. Okay. Which of the following is incorrect? So 4 scales of measurement in statistics are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Shoo, now it's going into definition. So they actually do go quite into definition. For an ordinal, interval, and ratio scale, the order of labels or values is known. For nominal scale, order of attributes or labels is not known. An interval scale has no absolute zero, with a ratio scale has an absolute zero. Nominal and ordinal scale measures quantitative variables, while interval and ratio scale measures qualitative variables. Sure. Okay, this is quite, and you need to pick the incorrect one. Okay, so 4 scales of measurement in statistics, nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. Do you say that's correct or incorrect?
It's correct.
Okay, so I would also have said that is correct. For an ordinal, interval, and ratio scale, the order of labels or values is known. Sure, it needs to be.
I would say that's correct as well.
Yes, that is what I would have said as well, because otherwise you can't do anything with that. So I would have said also that is correct. For a nominal scale, order of attributes or labels is not known.
I'm putting a question mark there in the meantime because I'm almost certain that one is the incorrect one.
Yeah, I'm also wondering about that one. Let's look at the interval scale has no absolute zero, while a ratio scale has an absolute zero. I think that one is also correct. Sure, the definitions now is, but I think that one is correct.
Yes, I think that's correct, yeah.
Interval. Sure, yeah, this is really definition. And it's not that you can quickly go to a book to now look at all of nominal and ordinals.
Gene?
Yes.
I'm just looking at my notes here. It
Okay.
says interval, no absolute zero.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that one is right.
That one is correct.
Okay, cool. So that one is right then. Okay. So we're still thinking 3 or then maybe 5. So nominal and ordinal scale measures quantitative variables, while
No.
interval and ratio scales measures qualitative.
No, that's not right.
No. Nominal and ordinal measures qualitative.
Yeah.
Swapped it.
I agree.
Okay, so that one is the incorrect one. So for a nominal scale, order of attributes or labels is not known, then that one is actually correct.
If you look at page 4 of the study guide, they have that little
Yes.
table, scales of measurement, and it's based on that little table. It looks like this whole question, because it's
Okay.
all the whole answers in there. For
Okay.
nominal, they say categories or labels. If numbers are used, they have no numerical meaning.
Okay. Okay, cool. So then it is option 5. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's just go next. I want to see if we say save or not save and what happens. Okay, so just before 5, I'll just go that we see how many we actually got right. So we've done 2, so hopefully we'll get a mark out of 25 if I just say next, and then exit. So we'll see what we got. Okay, so tropical cyclone Ida hit southern African countries in March of 2019. Preliminary investigation reported the death toll was 1,005 with a falling frequency. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Okay, death toll stands at 1,005, so that one is correct. Okay, that is weird. The percentage frequency of Mozambique is just below 60%. So if we say 602 divided by 1,005, we will get just below 60, I think. So that one will also be correct. The percentage frequency of Malawi is less than 5%. So if we say that divided by the 1,005, it will probably be below 5. So I would have said that is also correct. Relative frequency of Zimbabwe is 0.34. Relative frequency of both Malawi and Zimbabwe combined is 0.4. This is a very interesting question. Because if you combine that, it is close to 0.4. Sure, which ones did you say is
They all seem right to
incorrect?
me.
I think Malawi is slightly over 5%, but not
Okay.
not less. It's
Okay, so
0.058.
okay, so that is then the okay, so my maths, I just wanted to do rough calculations because relative frequency of Zimbabwe, if you divide that by the will be 0.34, and if you add those two together, it is also 0.4. Okay, so that one is
Number
then
3.
probably just a bit more than 5% and not less than 5%.
Yeah, it's actually almost 6. 5.8.
Okay. Because the 0.34 plus the 0.06 will give you the 0.4. Okay. So my maths was a bit off now just looking at the number. So 3 is the wrong one. Sheesh. Okay, so one needs to really make the calculations and do it. But then option 3 is the wrong one. Let's just save. So it will also be interesting to know if when I save it, if it saves the previous questions as well. I don't know. So let's go to the next one. Oh, okay. So I hope then the questions 4, 5, 6, and 7 are based on the following information. So I hope that they at least give you the table again in the next question. So which of the following is statement? Which of the following statement is incorrect? So which of the following statements? Okay, that sounds a bit weird. Which of the following statement is incorrect with regard to measures of location or central tendency? So if we see location or central tendency, what do we know? What are the three or what are the measures that we look at?
Mode, mean and
Median.
Okay, so is that the only, so it's those three that we look at? Measures of location or central tendency. So that is the three: mean, median, and mode. So let's quickly, and they ask us which statement is incorrect. Okay, so let's look at, I just want to look at the easiest ones first. See, so measure of location is mean, median, and mode. And is measures of central tendency then standard deviation and the other ones as well, or is that the same? I'm now again looking at where is my notes. So in your study guide, is it basically the same thing? Measures of location and central tendency, is that the same thing?
Well, this one speaks of your quartiles and that. And when I go through it, just roughly, I think number 4 is the incorrect one, because when you do your quartiles, number 1 is correct. It's the third position. The first quartile is the third position, which is the value, which is 2. There's a position of the second quartile, which is where the 5 is, the third 5. And then you go basically 3 blocks further to number 8, which is your third quartile. So that quartile is 8, and the value should be 8 as well. So I find that is the incorrect one.
Okay, so let's quickly check. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So at least that is correct with 10. So the median will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll be between the two 5s. So let's quickly, the position of the second value of the second quartile above 5, that is correct. The second quartile is the same as the median, that's correct. So 2 and 3 is definitely correct. Sure, does that look symmetric?
Yes, it's definitely symmetric because there's no big difference within that, the way your numbers are and that. Because if you look at your median and stuff, yeah, it's definitely symmetric.
So I want to quickly, so I can't right now on this. So I would have wondered about symmetric, and I'll show you quickly in another way if it's symmetric or not. So let's quickly, position of first quartile is 3. The position of the first quartile is 3, so that is the position, and it is 2, so that is correct. The position of the third quartile is 8. So position is number 8, which is 7. So that is also right. So let's just read it again. The position of the third quartile is 8 because that is position 9 and position 10. Position 3, first quartile is position 3, so that is also right. So I would have said it is not symmetrical. And let me just show you that in why I would have said that. So I want to...
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that one now, re-looking at it.
So let me, and just why. So I'm going to create quickly a new slide. Can somebody quickly tell me what that values was that I just show you? So then I'll go back to a slide presentation. So it was 1,
2, 2.
How many 2s?
2 of them.
Okay.
3 5s.
3 5s.
6 7 8 9.
6 7 8 9. Okay, so let me...
But what is the second position of the second quartile?
So the second position...
Is that not 5.5?
Yeah, well, see, so the
Yeah,
position
5.5.
of the value of a second quartile, they don't...
Position and value.
Position and value. See, so that is... Yeah.
Yeah, Gene, it stays 5 because when you have an even number like this, you add the 2, those 2 5s.
Yes.
Okay.
You add it, it's 10, and you divide it by 2, and it gives you the 5.
Yes. So remember n plus, so it will be n plus 1 divided by 2. So that's the tricky one, but I would still have said that is correct.
Okay.
So let me quickly share with you. Yeah, it's a bit dodgy, or not dodgy. It's like, I think yesterday also, it depends on what method you use, and if I want to round it off to the nearest. So I would have used, technically you can say 5.5, it should be, because it needs to be in the middle, but because it is 3 5s, I'm also like, it is still the same one. Where I'm more worried, so let me do this again so that I can share. Okay, so you guys can see now the numbers there. So let me, and that's why, so how I normally look at it when I do something like that, I'll write it like that. And it's nearly a small stem and leaf that you are doing, but when it is and when it's like that, so I would have said that is not symmetrical, just because you have a long tail to that side, you've got the mass there, which is sitting in the middle, but you don't have a tail to that side as well. So if it was 1, 2, 3, then with all the 5s, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, then I would have said, okay, then it looks more symmetrical and I wouldn't have had an issue. But this to me is, there's a skew. So that's why I would have tended to nearly go for the other one, as that's why I would have gone for option 5 as being the one that is incorrect. I know 2 feels a bit, I worried about 2 as well, but 5 is definitely for me the one that I would have said is incorrect.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
I was wondering, so if I now say, so let's do the next one, because at least it carries over the data for you. So let's see what the question, so from the previous page, which of the following statements is incorrect? 30% of a household received an aid of 2,000 at most. Okay, so then obviously this amount is in thousands. So 30% of a household received an aid of 2,000 at most. So no more than 2,000. So it is those three numbers. So 3 divided by the 10 will give you the 30. I'm just want to make sure now that I read it right as well. 70% of a household received an aid of 7,000 at most. So at most 7,000. So that feels to me that is actually 80% because it is 8 out of 10 at most. So let's just see the other. 30% of a household received an aid of 70,000 at least. At least 70,000. So it is 77, 8, and 9. So it is 50%. So that one is correct. 70% of a household received an aid of 6,000 at most. At most. So that is the 70%. So I'm happy with that because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 10 is the 70%. 70% of households received an aid of 5,000 at least. So at least 5,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at least 7 out of the 10, so that one is also correct. So that one is the incorrect one, option 2, because it should have been 80%. Okay, so we've done 5 questions now. So let me see if we've done 4. Okay, I just said save. So next, so we've done 5 questions. So if we just skip now to the end because it is nearly 5 o'clock. So I just want to see if we get the marks.
What happens if you click on the question progress on the right hand side? Can't you just
Where's...
skip to the last question? The blue block on the right hand side.
Oh, sorry. There's... that is quite interesting. So what does... So can I just do that?
And the legend there doesn't match up to what you see down below. So it says that if you've completed it, it should be a black circle, but there's no black circles.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
However, if you've completed and you look at that legend, it's sort of gone grayish compared to the ones not done stays white.
Yeah. So let's see. So it tells me in progress and it tells me where it was. Okay, so let's for interest sake see. Okay, so I need to okay, so it is very interesting to see how this will and obviously I don't have a student number. So let's quickly go back into that. Hey, wait. So this was... Okay, I don't have the faintest idea where I now went into. Okay, so this is for answers. Isn't this for answers?
It looks like you have access to edit this assessment.
That is what I'm also now. Yeah. See, and there was the question 5 that we now debated was option 2. Huh. It seems like I can actually... It will be very... Let me see if I can get the answers to this, that we just make sure, because this seems like this is for answers, even if I have completed it differently. So maybe I have access that you guys don't have, so I'll see what I can do. But now if I look at it, so question 5 was the one that we now looked at to say if it is the value of 5 or if it was symmetrical or not. So interesting, so it then went to the incorrect one as was mentioned, that the position should actually be 5.5. Okay, I will ask for the PDF answers, because it seems like I can now get access to it. So I'll do a few. Let's see. Let's see if I can copy this into a... Okay, so let's see if I can copy it into a Word document or something, then I'll share it with you as well. And then you guys can test. Huh. Okay. Yes, it did now copy. Very weird copy, but it is there, so I'll share this with you on the WhatsApp group. And then you can play around when you do the answers as well and check. Okay, cool. Okay, so what I have done now is I've copied the answers into a Word document for you, and I'll share that, so that when you go through the mock exam, at least you can see what the answers is that was given as well. And yeah, but I think next week I'll schedule a few sessions next week as well, and then we can continue with that. I'll now see if I can get into it later tonight as well. You guys happy with that?
All good.
Yes, thanks, Gene.
So I'll share it actually later tonight, and when as you test it as well, maybe there's question that comes up, and when we can maybe look at specific questions next week as well. Also from some of the exam papers as you start preparing, and hopefully there's no weird exam changes still, that we get. If you have questions on the exam papers, please ask, and we can do that next week as well. Okay, so else I'll still create some cheat sheet for you. I'll maybe use the document that they send to you guys and see if I can add notes to that. So let's see what we can do, and to make it just easier for you. Okay, happiness.
Always. Thank
Amazing.
You.
Thank you so much, Gene.
You.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Let's